Good evening, I'm Jeff Koinange, and this is Jeff Koinange Live. And you know, if it's Wednesday, it's all about politics, and in particular, state of the nation, state of corruption, state of the budget, maybe even state of Tobacco. What's going on in our land? We are back. It's good to be back. Thanks for all your good thoughts, but it's time to continue work because the show must go on. And on a day like this, once a month, I like to bring on the best political tag team on TV. You know them, the awesome twosome. But one of them couldn't make it today. And the other one said, look, even in a football game, if one is sent off, 10 men still play. So he is 10 men. Man from Emanuelia. He waxes lyrical about everything from Greek mythology to Shakespeare. He is an author. He is a journalist. He's a political analyst. He is a publisher. Wow! Sit back. His Twitter handle is at Barrack M. Mine is at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag is JKL. JKL begins right now. Barrack M.
That's quite a lot, isn't it?
Was that a good intro?
Yes, a little overloaded, but otherwise all right.
I forgot to mention it's Barrack with the 2 R's.
Right.
Because the other Barrack is on his way.
He doesn't know how to spell the name. When he gets here,
yes,
sometime next month, we'll take him through the rubrics.
He's going to need Google.
Indeed, and I've seen that it's the hottest thing even on Twitter.
Yes,
yes,
indeed. Barrack, good to see you, and Paula to PLO for not being here for obvious reasons. We send him our commiserations.
Yes, indeed, he is bereaved, and so you know you are now like operating on half capacity.
You better step up to the plate, Barrack.
We will try.
Yes.
I told you that I used to play football.
Yes.
And one day we were reduced to 10 men, and we still won. So we're going to win.
We're going to win tonight.
Indeed.
Barrack, state of corruption. Now, okay, it's 60 days plus since the president announced the list of shame. We know, we've heard, we've seen all 5, particularly cabinet secretaries. Looks like they're going to be off the hook.
I think the 60 days should not be taken as a definitive moment, that within that time, something very magical should have happened. The way I see it is that the president expressed a wish that I would want to see that within that period there is some progress. Now, has there been progress? I think maybe not so much. We are seeing very little. We're seeing a lot of toying and froing. We're seeing something that starts bordering on a game of musical chairs. And I think many authorities would appear to be to blame that even as the so-called list of shame was being published and as the process was beginning, there were some efforts that do not seem quite clear about the ownership to scuttle the EACC. And now we seem to be seeing efforts to scuttle the DPP, and even the DPP office itself would appear to be sending conflicting signals. We have not quite understood the parameters.
Barrack, that's a good point. You bring up the DPP because, come on, look, files were supposed to be ready and prepared. Is the DPP that incompetent? Is he that incompetent?
You see, again, we should not reduce the DPP to an individual, because the DPP is an institution, with Mr. Tobacco being only the DPP in the context of the leadership of that institution. We would want to ask who are the people who are working with him. We would want to ask what is the audit process, because when files get to that office from the EACC, they are supposed to be subjected to thorough scrutiny, and I don't think that any one individual would be equal to that task.
Okay,
so I want
so
to
let me
believe
ask,
that it's an office.
Okay, let me ask you this, Barrack, then. Is the whole office incompetent then? They cannot bring files on these individuals after them being named for allegedly being involved in corrupt deals?
They have told us that they have looked at the files and that in most of the cases they have not found that the files have met the necessary threshold that could stand before a law court and carry the day. Therefore, those people who have been targeting Tobiko as an individual should, in point of fact, be interrogating the whole institution of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions and saying, beyond this individual who leads this process, is that establishment properly constituted? Does it have the necessary capacity to carry out the tasks that it has been given, rather than engaging in what now looks like witch hunting to me as a layman? I'm not an expert in matters of law, but I can look at the whole process, and I've seen people shouting from rooftops saying we are going to get to Parliament and we are going to hound him out of office, and without as much as placing before us anything that would seem to hold waters. I think what we need to do is to be asking ourselves whether that institution is properly established, whether it has got the necessary capacity to undertake the tasks which we expect it to be undertaken.
Is Tobiko Keriako, is he going to go the way of people, his predecessors like Philip Murgo, by the way, who was a bulldog at one point, a bulldog until he was hounded out of office? Is this man on his way out? When
we last sat here with my brother PLO, I remember remarking that people like himself and others who try to take on the dragon of corruption will eventually be shown the door. And I think it does not matter whether those people are going to be at the EACC, whether they are going to be in the prosecutor's office. The dragon of corruption is a very vile and vicious one here in Africa, here in Kenya. I have stated before, and I restate, that one of the rewards of exercising political power is access to public revenue, free access to public revenue. And anybody who will come out of his way to seem to genuinely fight that dragon will be shown the door.
So the bottom line, and I guess the question everybody's asking right now, Barrack, is have we lost the war on corruption?
I don't think that we even started. You cannot lose that which you never had. We have said that in the past. We have never quite engaged in the war against corruption. When we sat here some time back, I elected to give State House the benefit of the doubt. We said that it was not good to second guess the head of state. We said that it was necessary to urge him on, to edge him on, and to encourage him to engage against this monster that we call corruption. Some people came up and said, look, there are some names which have been named. There are some things. We have heard of some kind of Joginda Singh with regard to the Langata primary land saga, with regard to Karen, and with regard to other places. Perhaps there are some issues which are political high voltage and which possibly should not be touched. But we expect that there should be some movement, and State House needs to know that it started this process in a manner that looked very promising, to the extent that we started thinking that we had engaged in the war against corruption.
But it comes back to the point you just made, Barrack. I mean, are there untouchables in this land? I mean, it's obvious. There's some people you just do not ruffle their feathers.
I don't want to kind of impute ill motive on the part of anybody, and in any case, we don't know anyone who is guilty unless they are proven guilty. But if we say that the parameters are as has been defined, that some people have been adversely mentioned, that it is suspected that the fingerprints of some individuals are everywhere on every issue that does come up, then it does start looking like there are certain safe havens, there are certain quarters that are no-go zones.
How is it going to look, Barrack, when the 5 suspended CSs are reinstated? How's that going to look?
I don't think that we should necessarily conclude that they were as guilty as suspected. I think,
but they were suspended.
Yes, they were suspended, and I think that while it is good that Kenyans would like to see some blood, some political blood spill, so to speak, figuratively, it's also not fair, and it runs against natural justice that we should just get in a celebratory mood because we have seen some individuals being tried and perhaps even being jailed. What we want to see is that justice has been done and that it has been seen to have been done. We have said something here about Tobiko, Keriako Tobiko, and I have said that I don't like the way things are shaping up because I would really want that office for once comes up with a test case and that test case is carried to its logical conclusion. Yeah. However, on the other side of the same coin, he is not telling us anything that is convincing. It's not adequate for me as a citizen to be told that we have not seen anything that could stand the day before the lockouts and that the file is closed. What are the parameters? What are the indicators and indices that he is using to close those files? Indeed, people start also feeling correctly vindicated to say that we don't understand the parameters that are at work here, and we suspect foul play.
Would you venture? Would you go out on a limb and say, Tobiko is on his way out? He's either about to jump or be pushed out.
In Kenya, you don't jump. You are pushed out. You're made to jump.
Yeah.
And you see, in instances such as this, in societies that are properly functional, you need to be like Caesar's wife. You need to be above reproach. If you were to get into a terrain where you are being doubted, that aspersions are being cast against your integrity, you allow the space for a proper investigation, even into your own case. So at some point, you ask the question, who is watching the watchman?
Yes.
And that's very critical. But we also know that these are very complex issues, that it's also possible that Tobiko is doing his work, and that there are people who are very worried, and they would like to protect some individuals, and therefore they hound him out of office.
Matemo resigned. Kano resigned. That's EACC side.
Yes.
That's almost dismantled now. Now DPP is in trouble. What does that say? I mean, I'll come back to the question I asked you earlier about the state of corruption. Are we going to fight this animal, this dragon? Are we going to fight? Can we fight it?
No, we cannot for the time being expect that we are going to fight and fight successfully. The position which has been stated and which we restate is that we are corrupt through and through. And when you look at the anatomy of corruption, sometimes we ask ourselves with Paul of Tarsus that we who shout against corruption, who are saying that we want to see some blood spill, just how clean are we? Are we also guilty of some of the offenses? That when you look at the anatomy of corruption in political high places, does it not seem to begin with the citizenry? That in this country, if you occupy a position of authority, that if you occupy a position that disposes and exposes you to public funds, and you live in a small, modest house, that you drive a little modest car, that your children go to a normal, ordinary city council school, people will laugh at you. They say, look at this idiot who is sitting on opportunities. Has it not become a culture? Don't we need to ask ourselves very fundamental questions about the levels of our own chastity when it comes to issues of corruption and issues of integrity? Don't we need to interrogate our scholars and our academies? Don't we need to examine what goes on in our places of worship? Don't we see the men and women of God also fighting over same issues of corruption in their own edifices? So it's a very complex issue, and I don't think we are anywhere near sorting it out very soon. It's a cultural thing. It is a deeply entrenched thing. It is something we love to do.
It's almost in our DNA, Barrack. It's in our DNA.
Well, that man, if you read Chinua Achebe, no longer at ease.
Yes.
And almost cynically and almost giving up completely, and unfortunately being observed from the outsider's perspective. He says that the African is corrupt through and through. He says we have given him an education, a good education, a Western education. We have shown him our ways, but what good has it done him? And I think that we need to feel a little bit, if not thoroughly, ashamed of ourselves, you know, because of the kinds of things that we do, and even our leadership does, especially, but people don't respect us in the world. You saw the other day African leaders being received in Bavaria, and they're sitting on the fringes of the G7 meeting. They're waiting outside in the waiting room at the reception, including the newly installed president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. His first assignment is to go to Bavaria to sit on the fringes
to wait
of the G7 in the waiting room.
Like a schoolboy.
Like a schoolboy, waiting for an opportunity to present himself
to the
before
headmaster.
the mighty headmaster, to be given instructions and directions about which he should do.
Can you imagine?
Coming as he does from one of the wealthiest nations in the world, with petroleum, which they don't even know what to do with. And sometimes they even run out of fuel. That you look at the DRC here, with the most rich depositories of natural resources in the world. The continent with the big rivers, the Congo, the Nile, and many others, that we go before global assemblies with the beggar's hat.
And we're told wait outside.
Because we steal that which we have.
They have no respect for us.
No, we are told to wait outside.
No respect.
No respect, and you cannot blame them for not respecting us. We need to style up. We need to ask ourselves when we are leaders in a country like this one, that people drive through fresh sewers in Nairobi, that we put up a super highway, we call it a super highway, and there's a gentle shower in one evening, and the place becomes bigger than Lake Victoria, than the Indian Ocean.
In a matter of minutes.
In a matter of minutes.
What is wrong with this picture?
Buses are swimming.
Barrack, hold that thought.
On a super highway.
Hold that thought. I think you've just hit the nail on the head, and I love it. The fact you're quoting everything from Greek mythology to Shakespeare, and now Chinua. Oh my.
Oh my, oh my.
Let's talk some more. State of the nation, we need to address this. Budget. Budget's tomorrow.
Yes.
How many trillions?
2.
Oof.
2.
2 trillion.
Yes. And you saw the diaries of graft.
I saw. Let's talk about that after the break. At Barrack M. At Koinange Jeff. The hashtag is JKL. We're looking at the state of the nation on this Wednesday because it's all about politics. And politics, it seems like our gospel, our religion. That's all we thrive on. Another thing we seem to thrive on is corruption, which has to be addressed, has to be talked about, has to be tackled, has to be reduced eventually. Jeff Koinange is live and coming to you from the Intercontinental Hotel. Taking a break. We'll be back in a moment.